would have with our country. I didn't see Minister Todd there reassuring our Guyanese brothers and sisters. I didn't see the verbose, goodly bishop. Didn't see the honorable member Suzanne Rodriguez. Didn't see Ashni Singh. Didn't see the vice president. As a matter of fact, to be fair, I did see the commander-in-chief, and he spent about 9 minutes at the waterfront, and then he was gone. The video is there to prove. But those of us who are less fearful, I want to leave most of this retort and response to the Foreign Affairs Minister to my eminent colleague Amanzo Walton Desir, who I'm certain will deal with him. Suffice to say that Maduro and his administration, you understand why they have gotten more emboldened under this administration when you listen to the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs. All right-thinking Guyanese advised against the meeting in Argyle. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, for that meeting and what we expended on that. What have we to show for it, Honorable Minister? Under your watch, the Haitian situation rose to crescendo under this administration, under our chairmanship of CARICOM, and we declared success because we installed an interim management committee of sorts in Haiti. Haiti is worse off today. I will leave most of it to my eminent colleague, as I said. Guyana's only fared well on the international stage and globally because we have had in David Arthur Granger the foresight in 2018 to take this matter to the International Court of Justice, and you abuse us for that ever so often. That is why we have done extremely well in this period. Don't let us be confused. And we have done extremely well globally because on this side of the house, we have historically had strong leaders on the international stage. Guyana's foreign affairs must be judged on the success of the fishing license deal with Suriname. We must be judged on that. We treated His Excellency Chandrika Prasad Santokhi to a state visit, and what have we to show for those fishing licenses that we were promised 4 years after, Minister Todd? That is on you, and that is on your government. We like to talk half and left half, but I come to talk the other half. This situation persists, Mr. Speaker, as I'm on fishing, Honorable Minister of Agriculture. It persists because Guyanese know everywhere. When you find a paku, you bust it back. How much backstab got? That is the question. The Honorable Member. That is the question we have to ask ourselves. Mr. Speaker, I've come to this esteemed house to address this so-called transformative 2025 budget presented by the senior minister within the office of the president with responsibility for finance. While grand on paper, Mr. Speaker, grand on paper, the budget invites critical examination when viewed through the lens of past fiscal practices, specifically those, but yet finish my law degree in 3 years. When 3 years, while grand on paper, Mr. Speaker, you, Mr. Foreign Affairs Minister, you would serve your time better shouting at Maduro and not at me. While grand on paper,
Honorable Member Mr. Duncan, I've stopped your clock, right? You'll get back your time. Please. Members, there is a standing order with respect to interruption, Honorable Member Todd. Honorable Member Todd, you had a chance to speak. And I want to caution members, in the gallery, clapping, thumping on the desks is not for you. And if I see that again, I'll have to ask you to be removed. Go ahead, Honorable Member, please.
For the record, I studied communications at the undergraduate level, at the diploma level from 2015, from 2009 for 2 years, pursued law after that, studied for 3 years and passed, didn't fall out. Graduated from the law department of the University of Ghana in 2015. And I became student president in my first year at UG. Well, grand on paper, Mr. Speaker. The 2025 budget invites critical examination when viewed through the lens of past fiscal practices, specifically those of budgets 2020 through 2024, and the lived experience of Guyanese. Budget 2025, the theme of budget 2025 should be what Guyanese, the theme of budget 2025, Mr. Speaker, the budget theme should be what Guyanese see when they look for an update on the infamous cash grant, printed but not yet available. The theme of this budget should be what Guyanese see when they check the status of the $100,000 cash grant, distribution venue to be determined. From instantaneously in November last year, rather October 10th, instantaneously $200,000 per Guyanese household. It moved to November month 10, before Christmas, before New Year, and Guyanese are still waiting. Benefits from the budget 2025 will remain elusive, Mr. Speaker, like the benefits of past budgets, printed but not yet available, distribution venue to be determined. Don't let this come into this house, Mr. Speaker, and try to kerfuffle us and Guyanese people as though independence was gained in this country in 2015. The PUP has had 32 years in government. 32 years. What have we to show for it? A young teacher took me to a field at the back of, I think it was Diamond, said my house lot somewhere here. Somewhere. And of course, we didn't build anything. So while my colleague was showing me that vast expanse, somewhere out here, the land is, the Honorable Member Susan Rodriguez had a cutlass chopping her way to Linden. She wasn't using the highway. A young nurse said, yes, I got a house lot. I paid for it, I got a title, but I don't know where it is. I've never been shown a map, a space where this house is, and that is replicated thousands of times in this country. Why? Because you want to come and preach in the National Assembly, we give out 6,000 house lots, but people never see them and don't have access to them. Guyana here is something you didn't know. We are meeting at a time, Mr. Speaker, when the former technical director of operations at Gaisuco, Dwarka Bahadur, says that the hiring of 7 Cuban experts at a huge cost to help the factory operations has yielded no tangible results. He says similar recruitments from India will likely produce the same results. Let us set the economic context from which we will interrogate Budget 2025. Bahadur went on to state the company, through whatever deliberations, sought to bring 7 Cuban experts for the factories at enormous cost to the company, who have to date made 0 contributions. And I repeat, Bahadur says 0. He goes on to say Gaisuco needs field help, but only receive factory experts. Let us set the context for the budget. He goes on to say, I am inclined to say, as a trained, qualified technologist, I am dismayed at the seemingly casual response to the challenges of the sugar industry, tinkering with the structure, Honorable Minister, and blaming the directors, Bahadur says, would not solve the problems of the industry. Guyana, here is something you didn't know. We're meeting at a time when companies are closing. Last budget, the budget before, I heard the Honorable Minister of Finance premise huge job growths based on BPOs they were bringing. This is business processing outsourcing companies. Intel closed last year. That BPO, they closed last year under the magnificent watch of this government. Nice time in the economy. Let me tell you something you didn't know. More nice time. Midas BPO transitioned out of their business in Linden. That they like to quote, they brought 100 jobs to Linden through Midas BPO. They transitioned to a company called Prochant. And Prochant downsized from 100 to 35. This is the other half we didn't hear in the budget context. Acuity BPO also closed, shut down its operations locally. We didn't hear about that. That glowing part of the budget, that glowing part of the economy. But it was not just limited to BPOs. For instance, a company called Own the Coconuts, they closed the factory last year. Last year, I'm happy to bring you up to speed. Demerara Bakery closed its doors last year. And lots of these companies keep mentioning rising costs. Guyana, here is something you didn't know. Single largest project that we're investing in the gas to shore. We've been adamant this project needs a feasibility study. And we were told the Exim Bank and its consultants did a feasibility study. But we learned recently from the Exim Bank, and I want to quote the letter from the Exim Bank. The Exim Bank, based on a request that was made, states this, Mr. Speaker, you have requested any and or all feasibility studies conducted by the US Exim Bank for loan application, and it states the loan application. We've conducted a comprehensive search of the files within the Office of the Board Authorized Finance, Engineering, and Environmental Department for records that would be responsive to your requests. This is the component within Exim, this is the bank talking, in which responsive records could reasonably be expected to be found. Please be advised, we are unable to locate or identify any responsive records as Exim did not conduct a feasibility study. Talk half and left half. Guyana, just in case you didn't know. Now you know.
Honorable Member, you've completed the first part of your presentation, including the time I gave you back. You have 5 minutes to conclude. Can someone so move?
Mr. Speaker, I do move that the honourable member be given 5 minutes to conclude his presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Member Jones. Honorable Member, you may continue in 5 minutes and conclude.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. To get a good snapshot of where we are as a company, for the last year plus, every Monday, Sabbath News publishing how the cost of living affecting you. How the cost of living affecting Guyanese. $80 a pound of sugar has gone up to $240, has gone up to $300. Rice has gone from 2,010 kg baht to 2,800, right? And it has gone beyond that. They mentioned transportation costs has gone up. Among other things, housing materials, honorable member, cement, zinc sheet, sand has all gone up. Just in case you didn't know. Pensioners like Venus Wright struggle with the high cost of living. Farmers like Ramlakan Bismuth lament $5,000 barely buys necessities. You got Natasha Williams, a single mother who says, I have to work 2 jobs to keep my children fed and in school. Housing for me is out of reach. Dennis Marshall, a fisherman, highlights the price of fuel gone up. Gloria Singh, a small shop owner, laments people just don't have the money to buy. Rajesh Narayan, a mechanic, says spare parts are so expensive now. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on, Mr. Speaker. And on and on. Here's something you didn't know, Minister Utad. Billions dedicated to housing and water, and yet we have no comprehensive spending details. We don't have that. Bureau of Statistics, $2 billion later, can't produce the census. Just in case you didn't know, Minister Todd. Fiscal deficit keeps increasing. Sugar has declined 21%. Income tax out of this world. No tax record. Exxon, Hex, and their counterparts, Sinuk, as well. The part-time job scheme just keeps going up. Why? It is signaling underemployment. The fishing sector, 1% growth. Gold mining sector, 0.5 growth. The government's diversification rhetoric is contradicted. Island gas is carrying everything else, and the non-oil sector keeps failing us, just in case you didn't know. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, Budget 2025 is not a vision for progress. It is a missed opportunity. It prioritizes political agenda of the PPP over the practical needs of the Guyanese people. It is an election year budget, over-reliance on oil revenues, lack of transparency, inadequate measures to address poverty and inequity mar this budget, Mr. Speaker. It mars this budget. We need a budget that genuinely reflects the aspirations of all Guyanese, not just a select few, like the Honorable Minister Todd. I urge this House, Mr. Speaker, to scrutinize Budget 2025 thoroughly, demanding accountability and transparency at every step. And finally, Mr. Speaker, let us work together to ensure that Guyana's financial resources are used to build a truly prosperous and equitable society for all. Mr. Speaker, I urge the government to go back to the drawing board and to present a budget that truly reflects the aspirations of all Guyanese and not just the short-term goals of the PPP. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you very much, Minister Todd.
Thank you very, very much, Honorable Member. Mr. Duncan. Thank you. Honorable Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, the Honorable Member, Mr. Kwame McCoy. You may proceed with your contribution, Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wished that the AFC had done a feasibility study on the stage they mounted at Parade Ground that collapsed.
Well, welcome back to our 2025 budget presentations and, of course, our discussions with our MPs after. Right now, we have on the floor of the House Kwame McCoy. So we take that opportunity, we take Kwame's presentation as an opportunity for us to cut away from him and talk to MP Sher Duncan, who just finished his presentation, a very fiery presentation there on Budget 2025, in which I must say you caused quite a stir, and the speaker had to caution Minister Todd. I don't know what you did to Minister Minister Todd, but he seemed to take umbrage at something that you said, and we had lots of good things coming out of that. And one point you even said to him, you might better spend your time shouting at Maduro. But Sher Duncan, great presentation. I want you to take us through some of what you would have presented here. I know you wish you had more time. So here you are with some more
Don't
time.
be all.
I'm giving you some more
Randy,
time now.
first, it's good to be here with you. That's
Great.
number one. And thank you guys for the good job that you all are doing. It feels a little odd because
Yeah.
I'm accustomed to being on the other side.
Right.
It feels a little odd in that regard. But I wanted to do a couple of things that I think we needed to.
Yeah.
I got a chance to do a little bit of it. I couldn't let the opportunity pass where the honorable member, Minister Todd, spoke, and we didn't respond to some
Right.
to some of that. We're going to support the government largely as it concerns our territorial integrity. But clearly, there are some things that we could have done better
Yeah.
in terms of foreign affairs. But I really wanted to start for the records, laying out what the AFC is as a party, what our belief system is as a party, some of the things that we believe in. And I thought it was important because you have a better sense of my outlook on this budget, some things that we're very, very, very keen on. We have over the last 4 years, along with the parliamentary opposition, along with what we call it now, the joint opposition parties,
Yes.
been talking about the policy gaps, and the AFC as well has been laying out some policy that we would love to see happen. This government is a government that is intolerant of opposition voices, or voices, period. One of the things I wanted to point out, early in their administration in 2021, they met with a lot of the small parties. We didn't see that afterwards because they don't like what you have to say, and so they tried to shut you out. That only happened in 2021 after they had just come in. That was absent. But you need other voices in any government, in any administration, and the opposition is part of that. So I wanted to do some of that, and also talk more centrally too to some of the issues we have with housing. Look, every government is going to give out land, is going to give out housing, but the structure in which you do that, that is the important thing. And if you look at how, for instance, they've handed out these cash grants, very chaotic, that is housing for you. We operate, especially in urban areas, as though we have a huge expanse of untouched lands. So there's no housing policy. And that is one of the clear challenges that we have with this administration. And as I pointed out, while we're hearing a lot of numbers, oh, we've given out 50,000 house lots or whatever the number is, when you dig down, when you go underground and you talk with people, then you hear the real story. Yeah, I might got a piece of paper in my hand. It's like being given a house lot, but I don't know where it is.
Right. I'm unable to go and start because it might not be developed properly. And the fact that I have had to pay an arm and a leg for the land, I'm not have to wait to rebuild my funds to even start building on that land.
Yeah. And one of the things they talk about, in addition to how much they've done in housing, is they've finished their budget. They finished their manifesto. They've finished that. But yet you see them talking about you got so many squatter settlements yet to be regularized. I mean, like this is madness. Right? So there is still a lot of work to be done, but we understand how they treat squatting settlements. We understand, for instance, we've been there in Success Squatting Area. We've been there in Amelia's Warren, Hillfoot. We've been there at Kinview, Mucker. And so we understand that beyond the rhetoric here, as a colleague of mine loves to say, beyond the rhetoric here, when you really and truly interrogate what they're doing on the ground, then you see all the deficiencies. And that is what we have a challenge with. And as I've said, look, we have worked with this government. We have supported them where it matters, and we've had our differences. When they wanted to do the cost of living measures. We agreed to a $5 billion. We came back later on, we agreed to 7 billion. And we're probably going to agree with the 9 billion because people matter to us as well.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, you advocate for more.
Correct.
To be done,
Correct. Lots more can be done.
that.
Lots more.
And as we talk about more being done, you noted in your presentation that you see budget 2025 as a missed opportunity, and it prioritizes the PVP agenda. What would you wish to see, included? What are some of the missed opportunities you think that they could have focused more attention on?
Details. Details. I did get a chance to mention some of that. For instance, you're hearing some big numbers, but it lacks the detail in housing again and water. You're hearing these big numbers being allocated, but how are you going to spend it? Another part of what we'll be telling the people of this country is look at, for instance, if you read the mid-year report last year, the end of year report, you got big spendings, but by the time you get to mid-year, 25% of $200 billion has spent. How are you spending now all of that amount by year end? It's impossible. So proper, prudent management and all of that. Those were some of the things we want to see. It's not just about numbers, but it's about the management. And that is where they fail. They go to the ground, they huff and puff and they talk. They go in and meet all these people and they got all these interactions and all of that. And then you bounce up with things like what's happening at, for instance, the Tamari Medical Center. That is that it replicates itself throughout this country. The regional medical officer himself at a meeting recently, because of that engagement with the president there in Tamari, said that Tamari Health Center that is not the anomaly. He said there are lots of challenges. 5 years in, billions of dollars later, and he makes this admission. This is nothing strange, basically.
I want us to go far from that, because when you talk about healthcare, you have to man the healthcare sector. You need nurses, you need doctors, you need medical personnel. I wonder if there's a study or any research being done amount of nurses that would have left over the last 4 years, because we hear that, for example, Georgetown Hospital, between 500 and 700 nurses needed. Region 4, you hear people are begging nurses, persons to go and do the nursing course. How are they dealing with that? Are we going to build 2 or 3 more hospitals, and every single day there's a need for those personnel? How do you see any movement towards ensuring that these facilities are staffed properly?
No. Why weren't we faced with this kind of acute problem in the last 5 years? Why is that?
If the country is doing so well, and with the fastest growing economy, why are these medical personnel, these nurses going? Why are they going?
That is one of the contradictions. Why are they going? If we're doing well, and the shadow finance minister pointed that out this morning, if we're doing well in power and light, then why are you taking taxes off of this? If we're doing so well health-wise, you're building all these hospitals, everything on the up and up, nice time, then why are you farming out some of it to private entities? What is this about? So the budget has a lot of contradictions. And that's why I ended by saying, let us sit down and let us hammer this thing out properly, so we all have something that we can be proud of at the end of the day. I've never really met Irfan personally. I can't say, he's a good person. Per se, I know about the policies, I feel the brunt of it every day living in this country. I'm a Guyanese, I'm a stakeholder in this country. You feel it every single day. They promised us, they said public servants, they said people in the hinterland are going to be the first to get a cash grant by the end of November. We're still waiting. And that is the reality of it. But they don't want to talk about that. They want, when the president come, you must away him. You put on a mala and you say, good leadership, Mr. President. Good leadership for them is coming to Mabaruma waterfront. What's the name of the area? Mabaruma waterfront there. Kamaka, and for 8 minutes and trying to show leadership, and then you run up in the mountains with 40 soldiers and you say, I am a leader, but you're not really with the people and feeling their struggles. Much the same, if they're in all these communities, Randy, how they miss the Tamari Medical Center, how they missing all of these places. And this is not new. It repeats itself time and time again. But one of the fundamental problems that happen here, the system don't work, and they don't want the system to work. Why only when the president comes, then you could get water? Why only when the president come, your bush could get cut, your light could get fixed, your roof could be bended? Why only then? It is mind-boggling. And then when he leaves, status quo, gone back. The president went to Mara 2 years ago, and in similar fashion, he had a 5:30, and a lot of instructions were issued.
A lot of threats
2
were
years, a lot of threats were made. 2 years later, he goes back. Similar fashion, he has to be televised. He's got to be on social media. And then when he asks about updates on number of things, bridges and roads and all of that, nothing is done. He said pensioners should now get the pension in New Amsterdam. That was 2 years ago. Little to his bewilderment, he gone back. Nothing. The pensioners still got to go all the way out to New Amsterdam. That is replicated time and time again. Listen to what the doctor said. The good doctor. I hope they don't victimize her.
Yeah.
Listen to what she said. 2 days before you came, we get a surprise.
Because you know his president is coming.
Yes, road gonna fix when the president come in. Right? Thing gonna come. Water gonna start running when the president come in. This is madness. All of us in this country, we wanna open we tap. And if you get a glass of clear water, you could drink. That must be the first draw. I want him to go back in a year's time, in 6 months' time, turn on the same well, put a glass there, and drink it. You get a different quality, because that is what obtains in this government. They're good on the surface. On the surface, you can hear these big numbers, but when you drill down in them, when you drill down. Hello.
Before we let you go, I want to just tackle two more things quickly. One, you spent some time in your presentation pointing out the issue of cost of living and the good work that Stabrook has been doing in terms of highlighting and speaking to these people on the ground. Do you see enough in this budget? Because we know this, the pocketbook issue. People are worried about how they're going to feed their children.
The short answer is no,
right?
Because last year was the largest budget ever. And I'm watching the shadow finance minister at the back of the room where we are. And I don't want to speak out of term, but I think this budget is only 20% bigger. Last year's budget was times bigger than the previous budget. And if you couldn't do it then, you can do it now.
Yeah.
One of the things I failed to do was to say initially that the whole 2020 coming up, that period should be characterized by the pink slips. Because a lot of people still holding pink slip. And then they come to promising now cash grant. But hold on. And that is characterized as government. You're nice on paper. Yeah. Biggest GDP, fastest growing economy, right? High income country, we've been designated a high income country. But when you drill down in Kwame, you just hollow.
No, I don't know about any drilling in Kwame.
Sorry, but when you drill down
into the budget.
in the budget.
So let us go on one other thing. I don't want us to throw this away. I think we should continue to ensure that the people understand this particular issue.
I hope the folks sharing the live.
Yes.
I hope they share.
Definitely. I know last night you had leader of the AFC on your program tonight in news and spoke sometime on this. I don't know if he spoke on the program, but I know he spoke about GCOM. But the issue of this feasibility study. I just want your thoughts quickly on that. I know you spoke about this in his press conference today. The fact that this government is so dismissive of the people of Guyana that they can come and tell us, yeah, there was a feasibility study.
Yeah.
When you investigate, no feasibility.
Yeah.
And I want you to impress upon the people how serious this matter is.
Yeah. Look, it has occurred to me, to quote a colleague of mine, it has occurred to me that we need to hold this government by a higher standard. The people of this country across the divide, that is a fundamental problem we have. We say, oh, it's the PPP. Right?
So you know what?
Laissez-faire,
yeah.
right? You make allowances for the corruption. You hear about Dion Bascom and the police force. Oh, it's the PPP. You hear about Calvin Brutus. Oh, it's the PPP. You hear about all these egregious things, right? Unless the international community didn't come down on them for the Dharamlal of this world, we would have still been contending with him now. And so we have to hold them by a higher standard. By the same standard we hold the coalition government. Yeah. I dare say. By the same standard, because much is expected of us. Yeah. And rightfully so.
You're talking, I know you mentioned this last night, the largest investment. Biggest project that we would have invested in our nation's history. And it's as if you're playing flippant with it. Maybe they have a feasibility or they did due diligence. And start
you ask whoever you want to ask. Me not ask you no more questions. Move on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And is this as if it's a personal thing now? Oh, y'all gonna stop this project.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all stop a mile, y'all gonna stop this project.
Yeah.
As if the views of the experts and the fact that this project may affect generations to come.
Correct. And you know what? They blame us for a lot of things in sugar, but the Skeldon modernization project is on them. The Skeldon sugar factory. They were told, much like we're telling them with the gas ashore, the gas energy project, and they sell all of these lavish things. They sell us now. Oh, it's going to do all of this. It's going to provide electricity to certain parts of Barbados. Oh, it's going to create all these jobs. Oh, it's going to do the same playbook all the time for people to buy in to the measure. And then you are saddled with this. If a Mile of Falls was so nice, y'all in 4 years, why you pursue it still? Huh? If it was so nice, why you push it still? So that is the challenge we have had. PPP and big projects is like an oxymoron. They don't go together at all. You got the Skeldon modernization factory. You got the fiber optic. You got the one laptop family. You got the Cherry Dragon Airport, the longest building, most ugly airport in the world. But it is still there and still going on. Every 2 mornings, the Minister of Public Works run up there. He claimed he reads the right act. How many times we heard that? No more funding, no more deadline. They just said that they're doing a new wing or a new bridge, another $500 million. So much for leadership and so much for putting down your foot and reading the right act. That's what we hear every day. Right act being read over and over and over and over and over, but no results for it. No real consequences.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's 4 years, for example, for this sports hall. 4 years.
My Lord. And then the fighting you when you ask why bring a bucket seats for all this for all this money here.
Once that is happening in the gymnasium, leaking, the culture center leaking,
And children drowning too.
Right,
Children drowning too.
So, I term it as a parade of incompetence. But MP Sherna, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you,
and
Randy,
your
for the work you all are doing.
contribution. Yeah, man. And so
Thank you.
we'll continue here. I think Kwame is still on the floor. I should be wrapping up anytime soon.
I don't think you're missing anything.
But we'll go to him. Since he is still on the floor, and I have you here. Let's jump into one more issue.
No jump.
One more issue here. We and as we are on that big infrastructure project, we note, and I know my friend Francis Bailey. Known him for a while now. Very talented guy.
Minister of Public Works.
Francis is the de facto Minister of Public Works. He's been doing a lot of inspections.
Yes. Inspector General.
He's been going on, and the thing is, though, his videos highlight a very serious problem that we have, and you've been highlighting it as well in your program. These projects, for example, on the side of UG, there when a week after they had a big hole in the road.
Yeah. Drive Heroes Highway.
Right.
Drive Heroes Highway, we can get when the black box. We can get the black box yet, but Drive Heroes Highway, the highway is fastly deteriorating and you can't miss it. Right?
I see they've been doing some.
Irfan is going to tell you it's a technological wonder. Is simulated waves, right? It's deteriorating now. I've always heard that concrete roads are much more sturdy, but I see now they're laying over asphalt on the concrete road because of all of the holes and so on. This is madness. I don't know. I can't remember the name of this stretch, but when you come off of Conversation Street and you're driving that new road now all the way to Duncan Street, right? Whatever's the name of that street, holes developing in that road there, close to Duncan Street, a whole host of holes, and they just finished that project there. This is madness. This is madness. So we've argued, look, it's not just about resources. It is about how you manage these resources. And these guys have not been managing very well at all. And this goes across the region, across the 10 administrative regions. The quality of the work. You ain't getting it. Look at any road the coalition bill. It's stand up very strong. And everything that these guys are building, it's crumbling. Right? And that's the challenge that we have.
It's as if those persons who are tasked with inspecting the work, as if they're they are part of the corruption.
Because I have learned.
Or you could say corruption.
I have learned. Yes, corrupt. I have learned that. Look, these roads got to be handed over. Somebody should sign off on them. How all of these things passing, master, with that person, and you're just hearing, oh, we found a couple of people and we fired them, but you never hear a name. Look on Aubrey Barker Road, how many poles fell down. We hear the blacklist somebody, but we can't get a name, we can't get a company, right?
Because that's probably somebody close to them, and this person may have to get a project in the future.
Yeah.
And we were talking with
and Randy, as you mentioned, as we were on construction, you have never seen this for our administration, for people who didn't have a lot of resources when they came into government, and you can point to the previous administration, perhaps of the PNC in government, where ministers suddenly got some big sprawling mansions. One minister in Region 3, they say he got golf cart to drive around his house. One minister in Region 6, they say he brought in foreign artists when his child was getting married and built a big, sprawling, lavish mansion, right? They said in his compound is so big to get around, he got a gas station in his compound. This is where these people get his money from. Where they get his money from all of a sudden. In addition to that, we know that there are ministers in this government that suddenly got 3, 4, 5 apartment buildings. That's the latest fad. So they're buying up some of these houses when they do manage to build a couple houses, or just buying land because they're in, and then developing apartment buildings and all of that. This is what they're using the Guyanese people money for.
Sure, we have a president. We have ministers in this government who are part of the previous iteration, who have been charged with selling lands on lower than market price.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not just being charged, Randy. That is the first part, because
so they just continuing where they left off.
We learned from the great Fort Burnham that charge not a proven offense, but the court said there were matters to be tried. It was not just willy-nilly charges. There were significant matters, and that these cases should move forward. We're talking about Ashley Singh and Blassington. We're talking about I know for certain Irfan Ali. He was one of them. And others in this government, land, undervalued land, and a whole manner of things. And what we saw when they came in, charges just dropped. Charges discontinue.
So they
cases
continue to being corrupt.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. And there's nothing to say they have not finished. They have finished their nefarious ways. You could look at the housing. People in this country, we got a small country, right? We got a small country. About 20 of us here, 30 of us right now from the American Embassy waiting for an interview. But for the rest of us, it's a small country, Randy. And people would point to you. You go in the community and say, Bishop owned the house over this one, right? Bishop owned this one, right? Ugly man, Darky owned this one over here. This apartment building. They would tell you, yes. Who own what in Pleasant? Yes, they will tell you that. People know what is happening. So the officials at the GWI, who recently finished a sprawling mansion in a Perseverance area there. People know these things. People know who buy helicopter, who got jet boat, who got Lamborghini, who bringing in limousine, Hummer. People know these things. But you and I,
he's a public servant, so
catching with tail.
Normal salary,
Yeah, but they're selling phone cards.
People got $1 billion.
They're selling phone card, and as one person said, in the case of another then minister of housing who had bought up a lot of Kaisuko land in Lenora very cheaply, who asked about his newfound wealth, said, "Oh, he had saved this money." Yeah.
Or you get a wedding gift.
Yeah.
But before we go on a little more serious note, the opposition throughout the next week or so, they'll come forward and they'll critique the budget, and of course they will make their own suggestions as to what they believe these money should be used for. How likely is it that those considerations or those suggestions may be considered by this administration?
No. The eyes have it.
You have
the eyes have, you know that already. It's a set piece. The eyes will have it. If they were interested in our view, they could have treated us to a pre-budget consultation. Kind of get a feel for some of the ideas, how you think. And we could save ourselves. Even we could save ourselves some time here.
How many of our suggestions made it in? You know,
We agree.
Yeah, these are
Yeah.
things that made it in. When the
I agree with
opposition,
them.
Suggested. But what does that say about our parliamentary system? You know, what are your thoughts on that? Is this a tenable situation? Is this a tenable modus
No,
operandi?
it isn't. Especially when you have a government that isn't magnanimous. You have to legislate everything for them.
Mm.
So you would have to legislate then that you have a pre-consultation,
Yeah.
all of that. All you got systems in place that they're not following.
Mm.
I forgot to highlight in the Guyana. Did you know if we haven't appointed the Chief Justice?
Yes.
And the chancellor. The president said since he came in, we get this done. Soon as we get the Judicial Service Commission in. That commission was empowered months ago, and now is another excuse. It's something else. It's kick the can down the road, down the road. The Henry boys, you hear no stone unturned, and nothing ever becomes of it. That is the administration. They got on paper, Randy. They go on paper,
Yeah.
but like the checks for the cash grant, printed.
Yeah.
But
It's a peculiar situation
Yeah.
where you have 51% of the people who got 51% of the having 100% of the power.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how we move forward as a nation. That is something that I believe has to be changed. I know you share the same view.
Yeah, and I think that is not just to say it from the it's not to say it from the benches of the opposition, but if we want to heal this country,
Mhm.
and it's high time, it's big people now 50 odd years,
Yeah.
we have to put different systems in place,
Place.
and they have to be respected.
Mhm.
They have to be respected. Where the constitution says should be consultation, them boys don't want consult.
Yeah.
Them boys don't want me. They don't want to talk. It's our way or the highway, but yet you talk about one guy, and it cannot be like that. You cannot. The American president said it many moons ago. No country can survive half slave and half free.
Mm.
It's not going to work like that. We got to come around the table. It's equal and move the process forward, or else we'll get what we've always gotten, right? And if you put as they say, new wine in old wine skin, what you can get, right? If the thing changes, what you can get, you put a bigger budget in the same vessels to spend it. What you can get is more thievery, is
Yeah.
more robbery, is
Yeah.
more everything, more pilferage, every single thing. That's what we can get.
Be sure down.
Yep.
I want to thank you very much for your
Thank
thoughts
you
and
again.
your presentation. Of
Thank you
course,
again. I wish I had more
continue.
time. I wish I did. But next time.
Next time. I will
Next time.
jump back over to the house right now. We take a few more minutes of Kwame McCoy, and then of course we have our next presenter will be coming up. So stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned.
A far cry from the days when your cardboard images, the cutout cardboard images of your leaders, stand in for real engagement. In 2025, Mr. Speaker, you will see us continuously working to ensure that the government information services benefit citizens through the provision of information and education to help them to make decisions about their lives and to understand what their government is about and what their government is doing, and to be able to measure us by our actions, and for the purpose including accountability, inclusive of accountability and transparency. Over the past 4 years, we have retooled the state media apparatus and rebuilt the human capacities to ensure robust professional service to our people. And while they rabble-rouse over there about equitable access, the people must be reminded that our state media is a state media that provides and serves the people of Guyana every single day. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, 2025 budget is a bold, visionary blueprint that addresses both the immediate and long-term needs of the people of Guyana. It is a budget that balances the imperatives of economic growth with the principles of equity, sustainability, and social inclusion. Under the leadership and the leadership of our president and the People's Progressive Party civic government, this budget exemplifies a government committed not merely to the superficialities of development, but to the deep, lasting transformation of our nation, ensuring that all Guyanese can share in the prosperity that we all are building for our future. This, Mr. Speaker, is a budget worthy of all of our commendation. This budget is worthy of our support as it continues a program of development, of transformation, and prosperity for the people of Guyana. And I do so commend Budget 2025 to this House for passage.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister McCoy. And now for the Honorable Opposition Chief Whip, Honorable Christopher Jones. Honorable
Comrade
Member,
Speaker,
you
thank
may
you.
start.
Comrade Speaker, the Guyanese people are happy that Budget 2025 has been presented. However, they are not happy because it's the largest budget in our history. They are not happy because of the grand theme, a secure, prosperous, and sustainable Guyana. The Guyanese people are happy, Comrade Speaker, because this is the last budget of the PPP administration in office, and it will be out for a very long time. Comrade Speaker, the PPP's record of withdrawals. Mr. Speaker, over the past 4 years, the PPP has treated the Parliament of Guyana as an ATM. They have made 20 withdrawals, 6 budgets, and 14 supplementaries allocation, totaling over 4.9 trillion Guyana dollars. This enormous spending has left the Guyanese people asking, what has changed for us? Each year, we are told this is our year and that every budget is the people's budget. Yet, Comrade Speaker, the promises in these budgets are nothing more than a fleeting illusion, visions that will never be attained under the People's Progressive Party civic. Sir, For some reason, over the successive years of the People's Progressive Party Civic in office, the public servants are always left behind. Comrade Speaker, if you compare the APNU AFC's 4 years in office without oil revenues to the PPP's 5 years with oil, the difference is clear. Under the APNU AFC, public servants receive a total wage increase of 77%. Under the PPP, which access trillions in oil revenues, public servants receive just 35%. Typical greed from the PPP government. Big budgets, but small increases for the people who keep this country running. Comrade Speaker, if we ask the average Guyanese citizen, or if we ask the average Guyanese citizens, have your lives improved with these large budgets and oil revenue? The answer will be a resounding no. The cost of living is unbearable. Access to clean water inconsistent. Roads and bridges are poorly constructed. Health centers lack medication. Electricity blackouts are frequent. But Speaker, the abundance of water, the people of this country are thirsty. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister of Water and Housing spoke glowingly just a few minutes ago of portable water, wells, and treatment plants. And the Guyanese people now have access to portable water, according to the Honorable Minister. But, sir, the Honorable Minister could not have been speaking about the 592. The Honorable Minister could not have been speaking about the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Comrade Speaker, on Friday, the 17th of February, the very day that Budget 2025 was being read, on 94.1 morning program Jumpstart, a woman called in from Westminster, Perfect Harmony, complaining that for weeks, Perfect Harmony has been without potable water. Comrade Speaker, the caller story opened the floodgates, and citizens in communities across the country took to social media, highlighting the fact that water coming through their taps are smelly and dirty. Water they cannot drink, water they cannot use to wash clothes, and water they cannot use to wash their yards. Now, Comrade Speaker, we are about to pass a budget of $1.3 trillion in the fastest growing economy in the world. And the average Guyanese citizen can't get portable water from their taps. The water is so bad that they cannot even wash their yards. A little bit on health, Comrade Speaker. Mr. Speaker, under the David Granger administration, patients across the country were provided life-saving dialysis treatment free of cost at several centers, including the New Amsterdam Hospital. However, sir, when the PPP took office in 2020, this program was scrapped and replaced with a private partnership that imposed a fee of $24,000 per session. Patients are now required to pay out of pocket $12,000 for each session, with 3 sessions per week needed, Comrade Speaker, amounting to $36,000 weekly or $144,000 monthly. Comrade Speaker, the devastating result is that over 45% of the patients who receive this life-saving treatment, previously free of cost before 2020, are no longer with us. Not because they sought treatment elsewhere, Comrade Speaker, but because they are dead. Mr. Speaker, one such patient, whose name I cannot disclose out of respect for his family's privacy, was a water vendor, a man who supplied water for residents in the New Amsterdam and surrounding communities. He expressed that he simply cannot afford $36,000 per week for dialysis treatment, and he has a family to feed and bills to pay. Forced to prioritize the well-being of his wife and children, he was unable to continue treatment. Tragically, Comrade Speaker, 4 months ago, this man died. Comrade Speaker, on youth, the young people of Guyana are our future. And in a country overflowing with oil revenues, they deserve meaningful investment in their potential. Comrade Speaker, our young people deserve access to funding to start their own businesses, substantial innovation grants, government guaranteed loans, business supported services, land for their ventures, and timely permits and approvals without unnecessary delay. It is time to end the Friends and Family Opportunities Program and let merit and fairness prevail. Comrade Speaker, the PPP government continues to fail the young people of this country by neglecting the priorities of same. Comrade Speaker, the Honorable Minister Susan Rodriguez, in her presentation, made reference, essentially saying, or giving the impression that nothing happened in Guyana before 1992. Comrade Speaker, I'll take the opportunity now to remind the Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister of Finance, Dr. Ashley Kumar Singh, in his budget presentation, page 100, stated under the caption, free university and tertiary and vocational education. He went on to say, Mr. Speaker, it would be recalled that our path to offering free tertiary education begin with the write-off of outstanding student loans at the University of Guyana. I'll stop there. Comrade Speaker, the People's Progressive Party Civic would want to give the young people of this country the impression that they are about to introduce free education in this country. But sir, it was under the People's National Congress reform and Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham that Guyanese received free education from nursery to the university. And many of the government ministers sitting in this house right now, Comrade Speaker, are products of free education under the PNC. But sir, they want to hoodwink the young people of this country, because what they needed to say to the young people of this country is when the People's Progressive Party Civic came to office, they introduced fees at the University of Guyana. Comrade Speaker, when we say the PPP has lost touch with reality and the people of this country, it's an understatement. They just don't care. For here is a political party founded on the struggle for workers' rights, but better paying jobs and better condition for the working poor. Mr. Speaker, you may know the PPP's party battle song, "Oh fighting men," will now have to be rewarded. It has to be rewarded, Comrade Speaker, for the PPP now finds itself as a party fighting to enrich themselves, their family, friends, and favorite. Comrade Speaker, former President of the United States, Joe Biden, in his farewell speech to the American people, stated, and I quote, "Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America with extreme wealth, power, and influence that threatens our democracy, our basic rights and freedom." End of quote. Comrade Speaker, an oligarchy which threatens the democracy in Guyana has already been formed, and it is rapidly growing. Mr. Speaker, the people refuse to be condemned to servitude under the PPP oligarchy. Comrade Speaker, but I remind this House that it was former President David Granger who warned this nation in July 2011. He stated, and I quote, "The PPP has spawned a new culture that is not based on meritocracy. It is a kleptocracy supported by an oligarchy. It supports the people who places personal greed before the public need." End of quote. Mr. Speaker, today there are allegations, and I cannot use the word corruption, so I will replace it with dishonest dealings. Mr.
You can't use that either. No.
Could I use loot? Could I use loot? All right. Today, Comrade Speaker, there are allegations of loot. Sorry. There are allegations of loot in almost every government ministry and agency. What is worse, Comrade Speaker, these allegations of loot have been leveled at
Your time's still going. So if you want to continue that way, we will
run-ins. Okay. Comrade Speaker,
I will ask them to expunge the
that's fine, Comrade Speaker. Understood. Comrade Speaker, what is mercy. What is worse, Comrade Speaker, the allegations of runnings have been leveled at ministers of the government. Allegations of their spouses, children, and family members fronting shell companies that are awarded contracts for.
You're now imputing. You're now imputing. You are now imputing on honorable members. Honorable, please. You're going good until you took setup.
Comrade Speaker, there are allegations of runnings in the Guyana police force at the most senior level, affecting the morale of the entire force. But there's a saying, Comrade Speaker, the snake rots at the head. In 2011, Comrade Speaker, the international news outfit Vice News reported allegations of runnings involving Vice President Bharat Jagdeo.
Honorable members, there are standing orders with respect to imputing and also referencing, and I would not allow it. You have 2 minutes on your original 15 remaining. There's also a standing order with respect to repetition, and we've heard that over and over again. Go ahead.
During Guyana's appearance before the United Nations Human Rights Commission, the UN Human Rights Committee member Lawrence Helford stated, and I quote, "The committee is aware of public frustration, for example, the failure to investigate reports of runnings by the name individual I mentioned before. The committee also notes allegations of runnings in the Guyana police force and the judiciary." End of quote. In her response, the Honorable Minister of Governance, Gail Teixeira, stated, and I quote, "Allegations against the individual I mentioned before were never investigated because no police report was ever filed against him in the matter by anyone." End of quote. In other words, Comrade Speaker, the Guyanese citizens are expected to report allegations of runnings involving ministers and senior government officials to the same Guyana police force that itself faces allegations of runnings at the highest level.
For you to continue running, you'll need 5 minutes extension.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the honorable member to be given 5 minutes to complete his presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Member Maipol, Honorable Member Mr. Jones. I think you could now leave off where you're running to and continue on where we should.
Thank you, Comrade Speaker. Comrade Speaker, parliamentary committees play a crucial role in any functioning democratic system. They enhance the efficiency, accountability, and transparency by facilitating in-depth investigation of issues, policies, and legislations. Take tasks that cannot be thoroughly addressed during regular parliamentary sessions due to time constraint. Comrade Speaker, the Ministry of Governance, headed by the Honorable Member Gail Teixeira, organized a human rights and anti-runnings expo on the 9th and 10th of December 2024. The minister stated, and I quote, "We are trying to create resilient institutions that have the capacity and the competency to reduce runnings, to not only prevent and reduce it, but to also uncover it and prosecute it. End of quote. One such committee, Comrade Speaker, that plays a critical role in this regard is the Public Accounts Committee of the Parliament of Guyana. The committee examines the accounts detailing the appropriation of funds granted by the National Assembly for public expenditure, as well as accounts referred to it by the Assembly alongside the Auditor General's report. Comrade Speaker, the Honorable Member Gail Teixeira, a member of the Public Accounts Committee, has overseen the decline under her PPPC administration. Over the past 4 years, these are the meetings of the PAC. In 2021, the Public Accounts Committee of the Parliament met 25 times. In 2022, it met 21 times. In 2023, only 11 times. And by 2024, the number dropped to just 9 meetings for the entire year. This, Comrade Speaker, is as a result of a resolution piloted by the Honorable Member Gail Teixeira and passed by a 1-seat majority. Nothing better can be said of the other committees of Parliament, Comrade Speaker. In my budget speech in 2024, under the caption governance, I highlighted the highly egregious situation with the committees headed by members of the government. Comrade Speaker, nothing has changed, and which flies in the face of Article 13 of the Constitution. Comrade Speaker, during the 2020 elections campaign, the PPP frequently emphasized the importance of constitution reform. In their manifesto, they promise, and I quote, "We will ensure that the Committee on Constitution Reform advances its work through nationwide consultation, following the model used in the past, comprising half the members of the civil society and equal representation from government and opposition." Comrade Speaker, this committee is headed by or chaired by the Honorable Attorney General Anin Andalal. In 2023, this committee never met, never held a single meeting. And in 2024, after I highlighted this fact, the committee met once. Comrade Speaker, quickly on foreign relations. My God, mercy. I'll close with foreign relations, Comrade Speaker. We saw Comrade Speaker, the continued aggression from Venezuela and its baseless claims to 2/3 of Guyana's territory, the buildup of Venezuelan troops along the western border, the building of a bridge from mainland Venezuela to Ancoko Island, the changes made to Venezuela's map to reflect Guyana's territory as part of Venezuela, and the recently naming of a Venezuelan army general as governor of the Essequibo region. The Foreign Relations Committee, Comrade Speaker, for the year 2024 held only 1 meeting, Comrade Speaker. And sir, it should be noted that the chairmanship of which the Honorable Minister Utad is chair expired last year, and that committee should be chaired now by the opposition. We await that meeting. Comrade Speaker, in closing, according to the standing orders, the Parliamentary Oversight Committee on Security Sector, which shall have responsibility for the examining of policies, administration, and entities in the security sector, namely the disciplined forces, Comrade Speaker, influx of migrants, adding more challenges to the law enforcement authorities, coupled with high crime rate, the importance of the committee's meeting is crucial. Comrade Speaker, this committee is headed by the Honorable Prime Minister, retired Brigadier Mark Phillips. Meetings held by this committee, Comrade Speaker, in 2021, 0. In 2022, 0. In 2023, 0. And 2024, 0. Comrade Speaker, Budget 2024 is not a budget for the people. It is a blueprint for the enrichment of a few. It is a blatant, it is a betrayal of the trust and hopes of the Guyanese people. A farce, a pretense, a shameful transfer of wealth from the many
I think you've run out of words and run out of time. Thank you very much. And now for the Honorable Parliamentary Secretary, the Honorable Member, Ms. Sarah Brown.